that is aircraft disassembling and reassembling techniques. Gentlemen, as you know that after the manufacturing of different parts, the aircraft has to be assembled to be operational. So after that, after the assembling and operational life at different occasions, the components and different smaller parts has to be disassembled also. So as we know that the manufacturers design not only design the components of the aircraft, they also design all the techniques and procedures of aircraft disassembling and reassembling, and also the all the safety precautions and procedures, safeties will be defined by the manufacturer. And we can consult the concerning maintenance manuals, that can be the aircraft maintenance manuals or component maintenance manuals. uh, Students, today's topic, the purpose of today's topic is to enable the students that know the procedures of disassembling and reassembling techniques and all its parts. Gentlemen, you know the disassembling and reassembling process can cover a range of activities, including the disassembling of the main complete airframe or major parts, including the fuselage and wings, down towards the smaller electronic or electric components. So as you can see that the aircraft has been divided into major parts like the uh, wings, fuselage, empennage, and its landing gears and power plant, that is the engine of the aircraft. So we have to disassemble and reassemble at different occasions. So we must know all the procedures and steps involved during this process. So then we come towards the reasons, some occasions why we have to disassemble and reassemble the aircraft. First of all, we see that the complete airframe disassembly of for road or air shipment. Gentlemen, as you know that the aircraft parts can be disassembled at different locations. So for assembly of the whole aircraft, we have to transport it towards that predefined location, or after some involvement in accidents, when the aircraft become non-worthy of flying, then we have to travel it towards the maintenance bay, or the workshop. So we have to disassemble its major parts for its shipment. Then comes the second step, that is the replacement of major components. For certain reasons we have to replace its major components, so we must know all the procedures of the replacement of the major components like engine, wings, or fuselage. Then also includes the replacement of minor components. Definitely we have to sometimes replace the minor components. And then comes the disassembly and reassembly of major components. At some occasions we have to disassemble and reassemble the major components for example, for the excess of the other trades, or for some other reasons we have only disassemble the major parts, and also the disassembling and reassembling of minor parts. All these steps will be discussed in the next coming minutes. As you can see in the picture, that aircraft has been divided into its parts. All the parts you can see that these are the wings, and this is the power plant, engine, and the fuselage and empennage, and its landing gears, etc. Then we first discuss the dismantling of the complete airframe. For some certain reasons we have to dismantle all its major components. The reasons can be for the purpose of transportation by road or by air, and then the recovery from accident site remote from the airfield. For example, the aircraft has been involved in an accident, and some its major parts has been damaged, then we have to recover it towards the maintenance shops. So we have to dismantle its complete airframe. Then the third reason can be the movement of aircraft, and it is totally non-worthy. For certain unknown maintenance reasons or severe corrosions, the aircraft can become the non-airworthy. So we have to dismantle its complete airframe. The next step is the replacement of major components. Gentlemen, for the replacement of the major components, uh, this type of operation will normally be completed at a large maintenance base where all the required facilities are available, all the required environment prescribed by the manufacturer is available. For example, the replacement of a wing of an aircraft that has suffered a major damage. So for its replacement, all the required environment must be available. So we have to disassemble all the major components and replace them. Uh, all the other types of similar work might be the replacement of its empennage surfaces or nose cones. And if the aircraft is at an outstation when the damage occurs, confirmation should be sought as to whether the aircraft can be flown back to base for repair or replacement where it is. Then we come towards the replacement of the minor components. As the major components can be replaced, then for certain reason we have to replace the minor components. So some components have to be repaired by their replacement, and the repairs to flying controls. For example, the repairs to flying control surfaces are often done in our repair bay, so we have to replace them to service the aircraft. The third step, we can see that the components may be replaced on the aircraft by a serviceable item or reinstalled once the repair in the bay has been completed. As you know, some components have to be repaired by a replacement. So we to enable the aircraft serviceable for flying, we have to replace certain minor components. Uh, Most of these stocks are simply removal and replacement operations as prescribed in the maintenance manuals. We have to do all the steps. In the this picture you can see the landing gear of the aircraft. So for the service of the aircraft, sometimes we have to replace its minor components of the landing gear system. Then comes the disassembly and reassembly of major components. Most of the work during this phase of maintenance is scheduled with normal aircraft maintenance. The components may not only be removed and reinstalled at different times during the maintenance, but work will also be done on the items while they are removed. They may also be removed to allow access to the other parts of the airframe during the maintenance. Items such as engines, propellers, landing gears, and wheels require some form of maintenance, and they may include a simple condition check or a full overhaul of its component parts, allowing checks on internal component parts for wear, damage, or corrosion. That step cannot be completed while these components are installed on the aircraft. So we have to disassemble it, and after the completion of that checks, we have to reassemble the major that assembly, that the engine or the any major part. So we in this picture you can see that the engine has been removed from the aircraft for certain reasons. So all the steps we must know, all the procedures as mentioned in the aircraft maintenance manual. So all steps must be followed to remove or disassemble the engine assembly, and then all the reverse steps to reassemble that the engine or major components. Then we come towards the disassembly and reassembly of minor components. Gentlemen, as you know that the aircraft can contain hundreds of small components that work together to become a system and to make the larger systems. So that the smaller components may be part of the hydraulic or pneumatic components that are mechanical, electromechanical, or electrical in operation. We have to know all the procedures about the disassembling and reassembling of minor components. So for certain reasons we have to disassemble the minor components according to the maintenance manuals. The operators of smaller aircrafts are those who operate only a few aircrafts, will usually send components requiring repair or maintenance to a third party for their third party of the maintenance organizations for their maintenance. So that company will have the special facilities, equipment and personnel, the trained personnel, to complete the required work on the components from a number of different customers. As you can see that the technicians are going to be remove the aircraft wheel. So they are disassembling or assembling that component of the aircraft of landing system. Then we come towards the basic safeties or procedures, we can say the techniques of the disassembling and reassembling. We will first of all we will see that all time use of maintenance manual, aircraft maintenance manual or component maintenance manual. Gentlemen, as you know that during the process of disassembling or reassembling, a minor mistake can cause a huge damage. So we have to severely follow the all the instructions prescribed by the manufacturer in the aircraft maintenance manuals or the component maintenance manuals, and the correct techniques can be only followed from these manuals. And then these manuals can will definitely provide the correct tools and correct parts for the required system. So according to that manual we have to use all that parts, especially the small locking devices. There must be the correct use of these locking devices, including the locking wires, washers and circlips. Some can only be used once only, while others can be reused according to the prescription of the manufacturer. The replacement of spring washers or other nuts must be according to the maintenance manual. In all matters relating to the aircraft, the manufacturer has the final authority to use or the ones or again all the related components. Yeah, gentlemen, as you know that on the aircraft, the certain nut bolts or set screws required the standard torque. The torque values will be given in the maintenance manuals. So we have to follow all the torque values to assemble a component. If required torque is not given to a component, then it can cause an accident that can be very severe. So sometimes we have to move the components to for their disassembling towards the jig. You know that a jig is a device that allows the manufacturer repair or rigging of components to high dimensional accuracy. The jig that holds all of the items securely, so that when assembled the whole component is exactly the shape that the designer has stipulated. The jigs are used to build the fuselage wing section and the wing sections in the factory, and they are also used to ensure that small actuators are preset to the exact length to assist in rigging the controls containing the actuators. Then we come towards the as you know that the manufacturer always prescribe the use of the components and tools, and some components have to be used only once. So the only once policy is a combination of manufacturer recommendations together with the normal engineering practices. So we have to follow these practices, and then comes the items that are usually discarded at removal are the filters, sealing rings, desiccants, fuels and oils of all types, and their discardtion must be according to the prescribed procedures. And some components can include the lifetime. The manufacturer always prescribe the its hours. After the completion of that hours, we have to replace or disassemble that component. So all these life hours, these can be the 100 hours, 200 hours, or these can be the in months, that 1 month, 3 months or 6 months. We have to disassemble the components for their inspection or required checks as prescribed by the manufacturers in the maintenance manuals. You can see in this picture that a filter that is only once use, then we have to replace it after its usage and not to be reused. Then we come towards the conclusion that as we discussed different steps of the assembling and disassembling of the aircraft and its parts, we have always we have to use the correct techniques during the whole process, because we know that again and again we remind that minor mistake during the assembling of a part of a system, uh, it can cause a huge damage. As you know that in the air there is no stop or the place to stay for the aircraft. So we have to uh, use all the correct techniques to assemble an aircraft according to its manual. So the second step, we can say that the ensure reassembling and reinstalling in accordance with both the relevant manuals and the correct standard practices. We always have to use its manuals, all the prescribed procedures and the safeties, all the steps we have to follow according to the relevant manuals. And then comes the use of tools. So you can always use the correct tools. The tool for the purpose a tool has been manufactured, we have to use for that purpose. and wrong use of tools can damage to the parts, components, and it also can cause damage or injury to the using personnel. So always use the correct tools. Then comes the Murphy's law. You know that it states that if a part or component can be installed incorrectly, then someone will definitely somewhere will install it that way. So if you give the opportunity to a component or a part to go wrong, then it will definitely go wrong. So in this as this topic is concerned, we have to they consider that Murphy's law, that no opportunity can must be no opportunity must be leave for the components to go wrong. So